everybody, it's Leslie from Sew A Lot Creative Sewing Centers in Lexington, Kentucky and Centerville, Ohio. I have another fun presser foot to show you today. We're going to talk about the 11 hole foot. With this foot, we can actually load it up with up to 11 fine yarns, heavyweight threads, and do decorative stitches across the top to add some really fun embellishment to our projects. So this in particular is something we're going to talk about and show you how to make it happen using these fun, sparkly, razzle-dazzle threads. Here's a few little examples of what you're gonna see. And then you can start adding this to your quilt block projects, your garment projects, tote bags, all different kinds of things. It's great for home decor if you make throw pillows to give those just a little bit of an elegant look to them. And we're gonna talk about how to use it and how to pick stitches to use alongside of it. Hope you enjoy. So with all 11 holes, you're gonna take and insert this threader through each individual hole from the bottom side. You're gonna insert your yarn through the threader on the top side of the foot, and then you're gonna pull it back through to the bottom. You're just gonna continue to do this with each of the holes. Now, when using this foot, it's not necessary to fill every hole if you don't want to. You could create a pattern by using the ones in the center or possibly the ones on the outside edges of each row. Just play with different combinations or fill all 11 up. You could use the same color of yarn through each of the holes, or you could change it up and do color row by row or every other one to get some really cool effects. In this particular one, I'm just using all of the same, and I am filling up all 11 of the holes in the foot. And I always like to pull that tail through just a little bit longer so that I know everything is not going to pull back out as I do it. I can always shorten those up once we get them all through. Once I have all of the holes that I want to threaded, just kind of even up the ends, and then I can, a lot of times I will take and just tie a slip knot at the end where they're all started, nothing too super tight, just to keep that from falling off the foot. So just like I would attach the presser foot, I'm just going to bring this over. I'm going to snap it in place where that knot is running out the back side. So as I sew, my embellishment is going to run from the top of the foot to the bottom. Next, I'm going to choose a color of thread. You can match or contrast. I'm going to choose something in the purple family, but not the exact color at which my yarns are. And I'm going to thread my machine just like normal. Now that you have your foot loaded with your yarn or heavy threads and you have it installed on the machine, we're going to go in and select a stitch. Depending on the make and model of your machine, you will have different stitches that you can use in specialty categories potentially, or you can just use some of your fun decorative stitches. So I'm gonna go into my sewing menu and we're just gonna start stitching. Now on this particular machine, the Husqvarna Viking Designer Epic 3, I actually have a category in here called specialty stitches, and a lot of the machines will have something like this. And I have a subcategory called yarn stitches. Beside the 11 hole yarn foot, there is also a 3 hole yarn foot that is also a lot of fun to play with. It has larger holes in it than this one, so you can use a little bit thicker yarns and embellishments through it, but it works in a similar fashion. So these stitches here at the top are ones that are created to use with some of these specialty feet, the yarn couching feet or the 3 hole yarn foot, the 11 hole yarn foot, so that you can do some neat stitching over top, and it's going to make sure that it secures down all of those yarns across the width of the stitch. So we could select one of these stitches, and if you were unsure, a lot of the machines have a question mark. You can tap that question mark and you can tap a particular stitch and it's going to come up and tell you about that stitch. This is one of the really neat things about some of these computerized machines is there's built-in help along the way. And even on something like the Designer Epic 3, there are even tutorials with videos and things. So this just tells us this works well with the 3-hole yarn stitch foot and what that foot is if you are looking for the part number. The other place you can kind of search through, and you can look through a lot of your different stitches. I'm just going to go into my quilt stitch category, and there are lots of different stitches within these categories that you could definitely use, that I have used with yarn feet in the past. They all work well. You're just looking for something that's going to tack down that yarn all across so that it doesn't come loose or get picked out. But another thing that I like to do is with so many of the machines, we can create sequences, or we can even create our own stitch or make adjustments to a stitch that's already in the machine. So I'm going to do something here and create a sequence or a program, and I'm going to come back to that quilt category, and I'm going to choose this first stitch. I really like this stitch, but I don't want them all going the same way for the particular project I'm doing. So I'm actually going to just choose it twice. And the second one, I'm going to mirror the opposite direction. So now I've created a new stitch sequence that's going to look a little bit different than the original. Once I've got that, I'm just going to say okay. And now I can see my new stitch that I've created by using a mirror image on this. And this stitch is going to cover back and forth across all of that yarn and give us a really fun stitch for the project I'm working on. Something else that's really fun on this particular model of machine is that I can actually project my stitch down onto my fabric to see what it's going to look like and where it's going to go. So I can audition what my stitches look like ahead of time before I actually stitch them down to the fabric. You see that in the white here with that scrolling stitch, but also you see a red line. I can actually move and adjust this red line or change the color of it where I want to, but for this particular case, I'm going to have it run right down the middle of the stitch so that I can actually keep my stitch right on that center seam that I have. So I'm just putting a piece of tearaway underneath my fabric. I'm going to make sure that my yarns and my knot are pulled out. I'm going to drop my needle right down in to that seam, and I'm going to set it for needle down. And from here, I'm just going to pull the yarns through my foot out towards me, and I'm going to start stitching my decorative stitch. As you can see with this stitch I've created, it does have side motion to it, so it's actually moving the fabric from side to side. That's why I'm stopping occasionally with my needle down in so that I can check that projection and see where it's landing, and I can make a pivot and adjust my fabric where it needs to be so that I know that I'm covering up that seam that I've created. The other thing with a side motion stitch, when we're finished with this one, from here, I went ahead and used my thread cutter. I cut my thread, but then I'm gonna leave myself a little bit of tail here, trim those, and then if I have more embellishment and I wanna use this again, I'm just gonna tie another slip knot in that end, or you could wrap a piece of tape around the end to keep them all together. I'm just keeping those there so I don't pull any of my yarns out of my foot. And from here, you can see this beautiful embellished yarn stitch that's covering up that seam allowance. It's just a great fun way that you can embellish any of your sewing projects, whether it be a quilting project where you're piecing something and you want to add something to it, a garment, doing this along the trim of a cuff on a shirt or down the leg of a pant would just give you some really beautiful effects. This particular stitch is a stitch that is a forward moving stitch that is from the specialty stitch category. I'm going to show you how this one looks with the 11-hole yarn foot, and we are just going to stitch. We're going to use a different contrast thread color this time so you can see the difference in how that turns out. when I get to the end of this stitch, if I know that I'm done with these yarns, I can cut it off there, or I can just pull it out through the foot if I don't have super long tails. And this is just another example of what that yarn stitch looks like, those beautiful embellishments. I hope you've enjoyed this quick little presser foot video on the 11-hole foot. You can find this foot available for your machine brand with most makes and models, and start creating lots of fun embellished projects. I can't wait for you to share them with us. Make sure, if you enjoyed this video, to like and subscribe to our channel. We love to be a part of what you're creating. Bye, everybody.